Good morning. How are you? So I want to welcome you to the podcast of Shezzy's Digestive Harmony. I'm your host, Cherie. I want to welcome Professor Dr. Peter Dingle, who's got over 3 decades of experience in environmental, and he's now a gut and health and wellness guru, pretty much. And welcome to the podcast, Dr. Dingle.
Thank you. Please, all the time, just call me Peter. I'm good with that. Look,
Thank you.
um, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in it. It's a pleasure to be able to share the message about gut with people, because what's happened is probably 20 years ago, people started learning about the gut-brain axis, and they're going, "Oh yeah, wow." Well, now I like to tell everyone it's the gut everything axis.
Yes.
So I like just introducing people to a concept that they'll probably be told by their local GP in 20 years' time that that you're right, you were right 20 years ago. So I love the idea of just getting this message out and getting people thinking about it differently, and also thinking about their own health
Yes,
differently.
absolutely. Today we're going to just touch on the pros and cons of gut health and fasting, and just some experiences like you've had with maybe your clients as well, and also members of the public if you've had that. And I noticed that you also tour around the whole of Australia as well.
We do, we do a little now.
Yeah,
Um, when it comes to, first of all, I don't have clients. I'm a
right.
ex-research professor from university.
Yes.
And primarily my work now is just, I'm retired,
Okay.
and I just research gut, and I research all the links between gut and all the conditions.
Oh,
But we
fantastic.
still do talks, and we finished we used to organize our own. In fact, pre-COVID, we did 99 talks that year. So fairly full on, and now we probably do about 25 talks a year.
Wow.
We did a talk for a company who likes what I say, and we literally started in Perth and did 7 cities between Australia and New Zealand in 10 days. 10
Wow.
airports, 10 days. We just went, talk, and it was exhausting and fun, and it just
Yeah.
I love being in front of that audience and getting them motivated and saying,
Yeah.
"Wow, this is really," and
Yeah.
they loved it. It's just cutting edge stuff. So I've got another one. If you happen to be up on the Sunshine Coast, I'm up at a talk I'm doing. I'm not sure of it, but the name of it, but it's on the 21st of July
Okay.
in Caloundra.
I'll make a note of that because then I can put it in my podcast as well.
Yep, great.
You can
So I'm up. I'm
spread
up
the
there
word.
doing a talk. Yeah, and then otherwise we just do a few here and there, and whenever somebody calls us out now.
Yes.
But my real passion is research,
Wow.
and it's I live by my phone here. Okay, and when somebody says, "Oh, Pete, fasting," for example, okay, which we'll talk about in a moment, fasting,
Yes.
I go, okay, I flick it up and I go to PubMed, which is the research, all of the research around the world, which is published online. And
Yes.
it's not the drug companies, it's not the chemical companies,
No.
it's public available research. And I go there, for example, I don't know if you can see it, but somebody said, "What about cookware, Pete?" So I said, "Okay, I'll look into it." And
Ah,
I go, cookware, and there are 146 articles on Teflon and
yes.
other coatings. So I'm now, in my spare time, in between two other big projects on my research I'm doing,
Yes.
I'm researching cookware. So I constantly go to this and I read it and then I put it together. And then instead of doing a seminar, nowadays I just put it up on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen so
So
many of your YouTube. It's brilliant. It's just
it's just
absolutely brilliant.
it's just great. And what it is most of the studies I use are not 2023, 2024 studies already.
Yeah.
And I'm going, here was a study, and they say, look, people will say to me, why doesn't my doctor, or even recently I've been doing a lot of work on PCOS. Now, guys, if you're listening, ask your partners what it means, okay?
Yes.
And endometriosis. And they're saying, why doesn't my gynecologist know this? And I go, because it's still the last 5 years and they're still 10 years behind. So here it is. Here's all the evidence. There's 1,000 studies on it now, literally 1,000 studies on it now.
Yes.
Get into it. So, and that's and that's what I did with fasting. I've always had a passion for fasting. I did my first fast. I think it was 1977,
Oh, wow.
77 or
Wow.
78. But it was accidental.
Right.
I went away on a camp and I didn't realize we had to bring our own food. Sorry, that is a true story.
That's awesome.
So at the age of 22 or 21 or something, I broke my fast with a pie and a beer because I had $2.
That's a cheap one.
a bit more serious about it though. I've had a fascination for it, and I've regularly done some form of fasting, and the science is very, very clear.
Yes.
It is brilliant. It's great for you.
Yes.
However, I will put one proviso in first. There was a very recent study commissioned by I think it was the American Heart Association. Now, you have to understand that all of these associations are corrupt. What do you mean? Well, they get money from the drug companies.
Yeah.
The single biggest sponsors are the drug companies. Now, in America, they get sponsorship from McDonald's and cornflakes and drug companies.
Yes.
So they did this worst possible, absolutely worst possible study where they got a whole heap of thousands of people. They cherry-picked people. They cherry-picked the information, and they came out and said fasting could be bad for the heart. This is despite the fact that there are probably 1,000 studies, well done studies by independent researchers to show that fasting decreases your risk of a heart attack, stroke, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, type 2, obesity, weight gain, and the story goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I want to highlight, because some people saw that just because it was sponsored by the drug companies. It got out there in the media, and so the media picked it up, and it was just a terrible, absolutely terrible thing to do, and an absolute real example of the control the pharmaceutical industries have over health. But if I go back, so that's the first thing. Now, the second thing that's really important to understand is fasting isn't new. Fasting has been around for, let's put it in perspective, 3 million years.
Yes.
Since we started evolving, and predating that, all animals go through a fast of some sort. Yes. Not conscientiously, but because of the fact that we evolved in a hunter-gatherer environment. We didn't have refrigerators, pantries, supermarkets up the road. We didn't have the availability of, hey, I want to get my my supermarket shopping, can it be here in 30 minutes or something? It didn't exist.
We went days without eating too, hey, Peter?
Absolutely. So we literally fasted all the time, constantly. And we would have fasted over winter more than we would have, or over the dry period, whichever one we are in the world.
Yes.
More than other places. Now, historically, also fasting is built into all the religions. Every religion around the world has some cherishment of life and fasting built into it. And there's a reason for that. And when you look at all cultures, they avoid some foods.
Yes.
Okay, you can say what you want about the religion, but it's based on, you don't eat pork in the Middle East because at Middle East pork 2,000 years ago was deadly because you didn't have refrigeration and all that. So there is a logic behind all of this. So we fast, and then when we take it to the extreme, what it means now is that because we've got breakfast, lunch, dinner, morning tea thrown in, afternoon tea, let's have a snack after dinner. our digestive system is crippled.
Yeah.
Our digestive system is full. Our digestive system is always working. And there's a fundamental rule I started teaching about 30 years ago. Your body wants to do one thing at a time.
Yes.
So at nighttime, here it is, everyone, it wants to promote your immune system. It wants to heal your body. It's the calm, it's the, what is it, the beta brain waves, it's the immune system just going, wow, breathing slowly. And
Yep.
all of a sudden, your immune system is functioning at optimal
Yes.
after a couple of hours of that, well, 4 or 5 hours of not sleeping, and everything is just moving through the digestive
So it's
tract.
recovering, essentially. In recovery.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We all think it's recovery of the brain, which it is, and the mind, but it's also
Yes.
recovery of the digestive system.
Yes,
It's running.
totally.
What's happening now is it's running a marathon every single day. And everybody is wondering, I wonder why I've got gut issues.
Yeah.
And I'll give you my best quote. 50% of Australians have major gut issues, and 50%, the other 50% don't know they do.
Yep.
Everybody has gut issues. If you live in the 21st century, you've got gut issues.
Yep.
So there's a few exceptions on the case, but and the primary one is it's just exhausted.
Yeah.
The secondary one is obviously the crap, and everybody knows about the crap people are putting in, and they still, people tell me, oh, I eat the good cereal and so on, and it's still crap. Coming back, our body needs to rest. Our brain needs to rest, and our digestive system needs to rest. So having some form of fast, and my preference is the easiest, and intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Now, you can fast for 2 or 3 days, great. And then, unfortunately, most people will then eat crap for a couple of days, and after a week or two feel guilty and do another fast.
And Peter, can I ask you what are the types of fasting? What are the most used types of fasting that you found in your research and your journey?
Well, the primary one that I focus, I mean, the first one is just obviously food avoidance for an extended period of time.
Right.
And that may be up to a week or even more for some people.
Wow. Okay.
Most people will do it for a day or two.
Yes.
And that's quite comfortable and not too hard when you've got to, depending on your lifestyle and things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
But without doubt, the most researched and the preferential one I talk about is intermittent fasting. Now, I won't go into all the details because there's so much, but
no, that's okay.
It's all on my YouTube. The videos are free, and there's about 5 or 6 I've got now on the benefits of fasting, particularly intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting is literally having an absolute minimum of 12 hours of non-eating.
Yes.
So 12 hours, a period in a window of 12 hours you eat.
Yeah.
And 12 hours not. But preferentially 16 hours.
Yes.
And that's when you start to see the benefits. 16 hours of not eating. And you think, oh no, I can't do that. It's actually quite easy.
Yeah.
In most days, I intermittent fast naturally. It's 8 o'clock, 8:30, wherever I am at the moment.
Yes.
I'm not going to be eating in the morning. I'm not going to be eating till probably 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yes.
And I'll have dinner at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5:30.
I do 15:9. I do 15:9, Peter. So I find that perfect because I work out a lot. So the thing is, I need the energy, and I need the digestion at the same time, and the recovery as well. So
absolutely.
Yes.
The thing most important about intermittent fasting is do it flexibly and do it what fits in with you. I don't do what is it, 18-6 or 16, 16 hours of not eating.
Yes.
Do it every day, virtually. And on a Saturday morning, I'll have breakfast. We'll go out with someone. I'll have breakfast.
Yes.
It's fine. It's cool. Yeah. The point of it, don't get stressed about it.
No.
Don't make a regime. I train too, and some days I'll train heavy. Yeah. And I'm hungry.
Yes.
But So I eat a little bit earlier, or I'll eat a little bit later. It doesn't matter. The critical thing here is the best results come when you stop eating later.
Yes.
So you don't want to be eating at 8 o'clock, or 7 o'clock's probably the latest, but even a little bit earlier if you can. The
Mm.
earlier your last meal, the better it is, because
Um,
that's when all of the body is winding down.
yeah. Yep. Yep.
So now, when you start in the morning, that's going to depend on what you're doing. And the concept of breakfast, and for 50 years you were brainwashed into thinking
Yeah.
breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It is if you're a farmer
Yes.
heading out into the field
Yep.
to do physical hard work for the next 3 hours
Yes.
before you get your next break.
Getting up at 4 a.m. or something. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's got to fit into lifestyle. In the
Yes.
modern 21st century lifestyle, you don't need to be eating until later in the morning. Now, school kids are different because the school system is so so
Yeah.
broken
No, you're
that
right.
they get kids to go there at 9 o'clock in the morning when most of them should be sleeping in.
Yeah.
And they give them a morning tea when probably morning tea at 11 o'clock is when they should be having a big feed.
Yes.
And we've lost sight of where we have evolved from. So going back to intermittent fasting, though, the
Yeah.
critical thing is then eat well. Some people see it as a strategy that it's going to make me lose weight and it's going to benefit me. But if you're still eating crap, if you're still eating the cornflakes, and sure, have some treat foods. They're treat foods. Have some
Yes.
treat foods in your day, in your life, but
Yes.
just don't overdo it. And when people tell me it's all in moderation, I say there is no such word as moderation in the 21st century. Moderation is now 2 soft drinks a day.
Yeah.
Moderation when I grew up as a kid was 1 a week.
Yeah.
Moderation when my parents grew up was once a year.
And the nutrient dense foods, it's like people are not, they need to have the nutrient dense foods in order to
Yep,
feed their organs and their muscles and everything in order to
yep,
recover properly, pretty much.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that, again, that's something we've talked about. You look at the food and you look at it and say, does it have nutrients in it?
Yes.
And you go, wow, look at all that. And then you hold up these and you go, if they don't resemble what really looks like food,
Yes.
if cornflakes does not resemble food, there
Yep.
is no such thing as a cornflake,
Yeah.
then it's not a food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I'm picking on cornflakes, but then again, cornflakes started a lot of this, poor eating regime and
Yeah.
so on.
Yeah.
So coming back to it, the benefits of fasting,
Yes.
first and foremost, are for the brain.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll say second. First and foremost, it's for the gut. To,
Yes.
to just let the gut have a rest, clear everything out.
Yep.
And nearly all gut conditions, and I've been working on gut now for 30 years,
Wow.
nearly all gut conditions will improve with fasting, with intermittent fasting.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So if you've got reflux,
Yep.
here it is, and 50% of adults have intermittent reflux.
Yep.
Just fast a bit.
Yes.
It's going to make it disappear? No, but it's going to make it easier, better, and then you start feeling better, and then you go,
Yeah.
wow,
The
this
symptoms.
is
Yep.
working. I can do some positive things, and then
Yes.
introduce some food. So it's a really simple thing. So from the gut, IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome,
Yes.
uh, things like that, conditions like that are
Yes.
literally all improved with some intermittent fasting.
Are there any risks
So,
or the cons, any risks to intermittent fasting if you do it for too long or,
well, the thing about intermittent fasting is don't get crazy.
yes,
I don't. I'm not fanatic. Sorry, I'm fanatical about my health. I'm not
yes,
fanatical about all the things I do about it.
yes,
So, I went out last night and my brother's over, so we went and found a great place to have good pizzas.
yeah,
Not healthy pizzas, good
Good
pizzas.
pizzas.
I
Yes.
don't believe there's a healthy pizza. Okay,
No.
so it's about having a balance, and
Yes.
so that's the first mistake people make, getting fanatical about it.
Yeah.
This the but if you when you do, the only real risk is in really young children, infants. Obviously, infants should be feeding every 3 or 4 hours, and
Yes.
a
Correct.
whole raft of things there. Young children, their energy demands, everything's being set in train much more frequently. And it's
Yes.
probably not up until after the hormones are kicked in a year or two,
Yeah.
after that,
Yeah.
some intermittent fasting can be introduced, and slowly.
Mm.
The only other risk factor is when people are in a very frail state, in
Mm.
usually geriatric conditions,
Okay.
or they've got a particular advanced disease or something like that.
Like
And
pre-existing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's when there is concern. But otherwise, the benefits are just overwhelming. The first, and so after helping heal the gut,
Yeah.
letting it rest, letting
Oh,
the
excuse
leaky
me.
gut fix itself up, and do all those bits and pieces.
Yeah.
The second thing is just on the the brain, which I mentioned earlier,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
brain is clearer,
Yes.
more focused.
No more
It
fog.
doesn't get the sugar high and the lows and all those bits and
Yeah.
pieces. All of a sudden, you're working much more efficiently. You
Yeah.
probably don't need your cup of caffeine. That's a chai tea, by the way.
Yeah. What about like cortisol levels and hormone levels in women and does it affect the cortisol stress
Yes.
hormone?
Yep, it does. And but I'll get onto that. I'll get onto the number. So
Yeah.
the second one is the brain. The third one is your metabolic conditions.
Yes.
And the first thing about it, what it does, is it helps your body regulate blood sugar levels.
Yep.
Now, there's a lot of confusion out there. People think if you have a apple, or let's say a watermelon, it increases your blood sugar level and it's bad for you. No, it increases your blood sugar level, and it's totally in balance with the body and what your body's supposed to do.
Yeah.
When it's pure sugar, pure processed foods, pure potato chips, all of these things increase your blood sugar level, and
Yeah.
they don't have the balances in there to control what's happening. So when you fast, do intermittent fasting, what it does is, in a sense, it starves your cells of the carbohydrate that you normally are digesting 24/7 all
Yes.
the time. It
Yeah.
starves it. And so it says, okay, after a fast of, let's say, 16 hours, you have something to eat, and you have a piece of watermelon. It spikes the sugar, but it takes it out of the blood straight away, along with all the other nutrients, because it's ready for it.
Yes.
It's like, if you imagine that you're just a little model of the cell, and the cell, when you haven't eaten, you get hungry. Your cell, when it hasn't eaten, it also gets hungry. It gets ready to take things in and to digest them efficiently and effectively. What we're doing normally is forcing the sugars into the cells, and it's becoming incredibly inefficient. The energy component, called mitochondria, is
Yes.
burning it to give you the energy, but it's got all this excess waste and damage done. And because it's getting all this buildup of waste, it can't get rid of it
Yes.
and
You can't
eliminate it,
expel it.
clean it out. It can't work it efficiently. So you get what are called mitochondrial diseases. Now, your mitochondria, as I've already said, is the powerhouse of the cell. It's the powerhouse of the cell, and the cell is the powerhouse of you.
Yes.
Everything we do runs on energy, thinking, acting, everything, breathing, energy. And it all runs through the mitochondria and the cell. Every mitochondria in your cell, in your cells, in your body. Now, if that's running sluggishly, welcome to living in the 21st century. And then one of the first things that this does is helps clear that sluggishness out. So it uses up the carbohydrate and some of the reserves in your cells. It then starts to eliminate it. And this doesn't happen overnight with one fast. Okay,
No.
if you've been eating 21st century foods for 20 years, well, you've got an accumulation.
Yes.
But don't wait for it to get to that place where it's just like it's working in sludge. What you and this is all a metaphorical explanation, okay?
Yes.
It's not really sludgy, but the biochemistry isn't working. It's out of balance. The
Yes.
pH isn't right, a
Totally.
whole raft of things.
Yes.
So coming into it, once you start fasting, it clears the gunk out of the cells. It gets the mitochondria working, and it enables good things to get back into the cells. The rubbish is going out, the good things are going back, rubbish going out. So the longer you do it, the better you're cleaning out yourself. And this is called mitophagy and autophagy.
Oh, yes, I've heard that. I've heard it from
Or if you're American, autophagy and
autophagy. That's it.
yeah, autophagy. I'm different, okay?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oh,
these
good. We're Aussie.
and basically what they're doing is cleaning out the cell and cleaning all the dead and debris and dying parts of the energy powerhouse of mitochondria and the cell,
Yes.
and just getting
Yes.
it's cleaning it all, and that's what fasting does. And so as a result of that, probably the most obvious outcome of intermittent fasting is your blood sugar, your fasting blood sugar, which
Yes.
every diabetic, every person should know about that,
Yes.
is regulated better. So it goes in, and instead of going in and staying and going up and your body not knowing what to do, it's secreting insulin from the pancreas and getting all out of balance. What it's doing is saying, okay, I've got rid of all the sugar. I can take it in now. I can get it out of the blood.
Yeah.
And here's all the junk going. And obviously your junk goes into the blood. It goes to the kidneys and gets recycled via bile and the carbon dioxide and all the other junk stuff, or gaseous junk through your gases in and your body's getting rid of it all. And that's the first thing. So, but your blood sugar level. So every diabetic, the first thing that they should be doing is going on an intermittent fast.
Yep.
Across the board. Okay. There may be rare exceptions with some rare conditions. Always ask your physician first. I'm not a physician. I'm the guy who educates the physicians.
Yes. Yes.
However, mitophagy cleans out the cells. Your blood's ready to take everything in. And it just has an amazing impact from then on all of your metabolic syndrome. It lowers blood pressure. It starts to clean out your arteries. You can unblock your arteries. If you're told you can't, that's another pharmaceutical lie. You can unblock your arteries, and it starts this process of just cleaning. And again, this isn't overnight. This now is your lifestyle.
Yes, absolutely.
So as a result, it lowers your risk of heart attack, stroke, all your metabolic syndrome, all your diabetic conditions, right through to nerve damage and eye damage and all those things. It starts reversing the potential of those and actually reversing them.
Yeah.
So it's huge. Now, by the way, I'll give another little hint in there. The second best thing to do for diabetic type 2 is exercise, just walking. And you build these two in together, and it's like you said in the beginning, you feel hungrier, or you do a 15-hour, I think you said, Sherry, 15-hour fast, because you're exercising is a mechanism to speed up the process of the fast. Because all of a sudden in your cells, you've got your mitochondria cleaning out things cleaning it out because it's already been used. You're burning it all up. You're not burning it up slowly. You're burning it up from a peak of exercise. So exercise goes into there. And then, so you've got a huge benefit across the board. Various cancers have been shown to benefit. Now, by regulating the blood sugar levels also, and insulin resistance, you also then go into other conditions. And that includes things like for women, PCOS.
Yes, the hormones.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome is hormones very much driven by insulin resistance, blood sugar levels, so on. Okay, endometriosis, and again, I've got lots of videos up on these conditions on my YouTube to show that they're linked. And of course, That by the way, then, so with all those benefits for males, not in the reproductive area, it increases your libido, sperm health,
Everything.
reproductive outcomes.
Yeah.
In studies where they've done IVF, intermittent fasting improves IVF outcomes in vitro fertilization and stuff. It just improves it across the board.
Yes. Yep.
And just literally just about everything. Now that then, I suppose the simplest strategy there is what that does, it gives me a segue, because once you've done that intermittent fasting and do the exercise, it gives me a segue directly into the gut and gut health. And I suppose I want to highlight to people the gut health and how critical it is and how important it is for every single health condition.
Yep.
Either 5% or 95%.
Yes.
And I say that the segue is because I mentioned PCOS and endometriosis. The research in the last 5 years shows that the single biggest driving factor in endometriosis and PCOS is the gut and the gut microbiome, gut health.
Yep.
So ladies, gentlemen, prostate health.
Yes.
Gut health. All of the hormone, all of the metabolic health conditions and how they link together. You see, PCOS isn't an individual disease, nor is endometriosis. They're conditions, systemic conditions as a result of metabolic imbalances in the body, nutritional deficiencies, metabolic imbalances, and as a result, all your hormone imbalances, your blood sugar level imbalances,
Everything.
and it's kind of this incredible, a million and one things happening all at the same time.
Yes.
But where can you start? The intermittent fasting, the walking, and literally gut.
Yeah.
Come back and work on the gut. It doesn't matter.
No.
I would have people come up and say, what about ADHD? Now, I wrote about ADHD in the gut 22 years ago. I wrote about allergies in the gut 22 years ago.
Yes.
They're all linked to the gut.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Your immune system functions in the gut. The second biggest hormone producing gland in your body is your gut. So your ovaries, here it is, gentlemen and women, but more so women, this is the crux of it. Your ovaries and other cells, fat cells, produce estrogen and hormones and so on, right around the body.
Yes.
However, once your body eliminates them, what decides to give you more or less and recycle it is the gut. So we focus on the ovaries and saying, oh, the ovaries are producing too much estrogen. No, the gut is recycling the estrogen back in the system.
Back into it.
And it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
There's already too much, and its messages from the gut are wrong. The wrong bacteria, microbiome is in there, and it's saying recycle, break down the estrogen waste and recycle it back in to the blood. And so all of a sudden you've got the ovaries producing it, and now all this extra being recycled on top of it. And so you now have, and by the way, the same thing happens for thyroid conditions.
All of it, the whole lot.
So everyone's focusing on your thyroid gland for underactive thyroid and overactive thyroid.
Yes.
But guess what recycles it? Your gut.
Yep. Yep.
So if you have an underactive thyroid, maybe you do, but maybe also your gut isn't recycling what should be recycled back in, because again, once these hormones are used, the estrogen and the hormones, the body says it's just a split second, used, create the thing, dump into the blood, and then into the kidneys and into the bile, and out they go.
Peter,
And
I think we have to wrap up there because we're running out a bit of time, but it's an absolute pleasure having you on my podcast, Shezzy's Digestive Harmony. I'll put links to your next Caloundra talk and your YouTube links in my podcast.
Yep.
And yeah, and thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And it's a
A pleasure.
pleasure.
Look, before I do go, I will give a plug for my books. I've got the best gut health, literally, books out there. If you
Yep.
are interested, there's
Oh, there
our
you
gut
go.
secrets book, and some of the one of the best ways, if you're really interested in starting with healing your gut, and I'll say this to you, we'll have a chat afterwards, is get onto some K fiber. It makes a real difference. It's one of the single best strategies for healing your gut.
Yes.
So I'll leave it at that and say,
Yes.
check out my YouTube. There's 200 videos and 100 are about the gut.
Thank you, Peter. It was a pleasure.
That's a pleasure.